it's fascinating too because I remember coming into the offseason, it was kind of the infielders, and then I thought there was some talk about adding the bullpen a little bit. Um, I don't know what that'll look like. There's some fascinating names on the free agent market for the bullpen. A
Mm,
lot of the older guys and Kenley Jansen, Ryan Presley, Stripling, Robertson. You go down the list. Oh Jesus, they've got Drew Smiley listed here. You remember him?
I did
Uh,
see
some
that. Yeah,
some
Mariner legend.
former names. Speaking of Mariner legends, some former names and Kendall Graveman and Paul Sewald. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, there are some names here for sure, but I just don't know. Hey, Ryan Stanek, Ryan
him
Yarbrough.
too. There's a
Ooh.
lot out there. Yeah, I'd imagine they snag one of those guys at an affordable price. I'd imagine they also find a couple guys off the heat pile, as we call
Yeah.
it, that the pitching lab does their magic with. I would be interested. We haven't talked about this, but Carlos Vargas, who was
Oh,
part
yes.
of the Eugenio Suarez trade, was kind of supposed to be a guy. Knock on wood, hopefully, and he struggled in AAA last year, and so I'll be curious to see. I assume he starts the year in AAA again this year, given how he finished. He was walking way too many guys. That was and the Mariners are not, we say no to walks when you're in the Seattle Mariners organization. So yeah, I'll be interested to keep an eye on Carlos Vargas. Um, it will
Right.
be interesting to see if Paul Sewald maybe
That
appears
would
in
be really
any
fun.
conversations. I don't know.
That would be really fun, just because obviously he's really beloved here. You know, obviously he's had an interesting time with the Diamondbacks since he was traded there. Obviously going to the World Series with them and being in big spots there. And then last year I think he struggled a little bit throughout the course of the year, and they took him out of that role. But I feel like he comes back here and they can work with the guy. This is a fascinating list. Just, I'm sorry, I gotta go down it. Craig Kimbrell's available. I know he was pretty cooked. But Kimbrell's available. Jake Beekman's out there. Hector Neris, fascinating. Um, oh God, Tim Meza, Hunter Strickland. You remember Hunter Strickland?
Hmm.
Jesus. Uh, and then we'll go to a few names that were within the last few years in Austin Voth, JT Chigua, and Trevor Gott. Oh, there's also Ryan Barucki. Um, this is a fascinating list. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, just this is not strict scripted. This was not on our list, but you talk about not wanting walks, and Edward Bizardo is a fascinating name
Oh
to
my
me.
gosh, yes.
What do you what do you just again, I know this wasn't part of the show originally, but
Yeah,
curious about it. What do you think about him and his because he's a younger guy and he seems to have some stuff, but the control isn't there. And it's just, it seems like at times he's more of a liability than anything, and they really would only give him cleanup work. And then that I remember in the summer against the Rangers, the Mariners had a game well in hand, and he came in and he almost made it a game with how he struggled. So, there were time he had good stretches this past season, if I remember correctly, but I don't know. What are your
yeah.
thoughts on the Bizardo experiment here?
That's such a great question. He's a tough one for me. I had significant doubts that he would ever wear a Mariners uniform again. I thought he would get, DFA'd and be done, because I don't think he has any options left. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. What is fascinating was when you took a look at the end of the season after the many bumps that you mentioned, and there were many hiccups that he encountered. When you took a look at his baseball savant page at the end of the year last year, there's a whole lot of red on there. I mean, his expected ERA 2.43, expected batting average against 186. That is a number that I was not expecting to see. Ground ball percentage 56%. So that's a great name to bring up. That's really fascinating. and I'm really interested to see if he breaks camp. I'm not sure where he stands in their eyes either. He very much was being brought in as mop-up guy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, Bizarro got out of it. Oh, he got out of
And
it again. And and now here we are. He did have a 4.88 ERA, is how he wrapped up the 2024 season. But
yeah.
it is really interesting to look at his baseball savant page and think, oh, is there something that they're seeing that I know I certainly did not see?
And I think it also depends on, you talk about if he comes in a camper or and that sort of thing. I think it depends on, we just talked about the long list of relievers that are available on who they can bring in and as well as what they will do in internally, right? Because there was talks of the Logan Evans and gosh, there's
Hmm.
another name I'm forgetting. Help me here. Um, Another one of the arms that they've got in the system. So do those guys impress enough? Because there were talks at times of those guys coming up into I'll figure it out
I
into
think I
the
think they decided to keep Logan Evans in
as a
the starter
starter. That's right.
role.
That's right.
It seemed, yeah, it didn't seem like they had
That was like an
confidence. They were,
experiment.
yeah, they gave it a try. They brought him out, I believe in Arkansas. They brought him out of the bullpen in, was it maybe June, to see
That
if he
sounds
could
about
be a
right.
contributor last year and if they could call him up. So I think that he would be kind of your maybe seventh man in the rotation, um, depending
Not
on where
bad.
he falls with Emerson Hancock. He's maybe your
Yeah.
sixth or seventh man in the rotation. If we're talking bullpen, who I'm really excited about is Troy Taylor.
Think.
And
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
seeing, because he came in like dynamite at the end of last season. He's a really exciting pitcher to me, and he's got that attitude that you look for in a closer, really. And he's young. I'm really excited to see what he does in 2025.
Yeah, because I mean, you look at it here: Munoz, Saucedo, Thornton, Spire, Carlos Vargas, Woody Bolton, Colin Snyder, what a year he had. Matt
Yeah,
Brass,
he did.
Santos, Lizardo. We got Diaz listed. Yeah, Troy Taylor, Austin Kitchen, I forgot existed.
Mm.
Um, and you still got who was the other reliever? I was just looking at his name. The Jackson Kowar, the other
Oh,
pitcher
yes,
I
in
was
the
thinking
Kelnick
about.
trade.
Yes, the Kelnick and Suarez salary dumps. They get relievers who have not done anything for the Mariners at the MLB level. Yeah, Troy Taylor's. I mean, he's a lot of fun, man. Like, what was it? Did he make his day? Was his debut the baseball night in America, the Sunday night baseball? Was it that game
Against
or
the
was
Mets. I think it was against the Mets, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think
What a
so.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was solid and you
yeah.
know, it's just I don't know. It was fun for me to think about it. Um and I got duped. There was a time during a Kraken game where I have a lot of folks on post notifications in case they get something I don't. And Joe Vieira sometimes will get baseball news first, and he retweeted a fake Gregory Santos thing where there was a thing where they got traded, and I'm sitting there waiting for Kraken post game, and I'm like, oh shit, and he had been duped. It was terrible, but I'm really excited to see a bullpen with Andres Munoz, Matt Brash, and Gregory Santos. All I mean, that's so. I if I am a hitter and we're in a crucial moment, and you've got to deal with those three, one of those, two of those three, that is fascinating to me. So that's real. And you look at them, they're in the 25 to 26 age. Am I correct in that? Yeah, yes. Muniz is 26, Brash is 27, Santos is 25. Like that is a lot of fun to have in a bullpen. And you've got other guys who have contributed. What does Gabe Spires' year look like after kind of not
Mm,
having the best season, right? What does
yeah.
Colin Snyder do this upcoming year after, really being a kind of a secret in this bullpen?
He was
Uh,
fantastic last year.
so bullpen's always fascinating to me, and bullpens fluctuate, right? So
Always.
we'll see on that. I think that is a great place to end it, honestly, because one, we don't have that much anyway, thanks to the team. There's just a lot to talk about, and there's some positivity when you talk about this bullpen. So I feel better about that than just
Ended on
being
a good note.
oh poor. So yeah, man. I mean, it is now 2025. We're in the first week of January. Well, I think when this episode airs, it'll be the official first week because it was like half of a week for the first through fourth. So until we see you next time, maybe find something else to watch that isn't the Kraken because they're not doing too hot lately, and you need something more positive in the off season to look at. Maybe garden. I don't know. Take care of yourselves, be well, and do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, where are you going to watch all those Kraken away games?
Cracking away games, making a push. I was thinking of coming here just because Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, only if that's okay with you.
I mean, I love that idea. Hope to see you here.
Hello there, everybody. Charles Hamaker here with Circling Seattle Sports. I'm joined by Jen Barnes of Rough and Tumble that we happen to be at right now.
Yeah.
Jen, why don't you talk to me a little bit about what we're announcing today, which is our partnership.
I'm so excited about this. First of all, I just want to say thank you. I think all of us here at Rough and Tumble are big fans of what you and your team at Circling Seattle Sports does. And so, I know you know this, but when you came to me with this idea, it just seemed pretty natural. And it's not just me. I think a lot of people in the sports community in Seattle also really respect you and your team. So it's exciting to kind of see these two things melding together, and we're really excited to start implementing some of the things and then hopefully seeing you guys a little bit more often.
Yeah, and so with what Jen says about seeing us more often, we've got a few things in the works, but you'll see watch parties here. We'd like to do a few different of our community drives, which you'll hear about here in a little bit from now. We've got to make our announcements one at a time. I can't drop everything.
Not everything
right?
all at once.
But this has been a home for a lot of our team, whether it's myself, our friend, our photographer Liz is behind the camera. Liz is here often, so our team has kind of adopted this place kind of like our own since I saw you at our soft launch. So, it's been great to have that support. And in a lot of ways, and part of the reason I wanted to do this was the Rough and Tumble embodies a lot of what Circling Seattle Sports wants to do. Obviously with women's sports, with the storm and the rain, but just being, having the game on, every game on.
Yep.
How much of that, did you see a line kind of even before this idea was mentioned when I first met you?
I think it's always felt like that. I mean, you and your team were here on opening night, and you just feel like you're part of the space, so it felt like really natural. And the fact that you actually cover all of the sports really makes your group stand out. So you are always covering all the rain games, all the storm games. You'd have women's softball, you'd have women's basketball, you'd have women's hockey. We love it. So all of those things, and obviously passionate M's fans, passionate Hawks fans, and passionate Kraken and Sounders fans. So really, from our perspective, those two things meshed really well.
So, you heard it from Jen herself, but this will be our home for all of these events, whether it's you can't make it to these games at home, we're always going to direct you to Rough and Tumble, and obviously the games on the road as well. All these, we're talking about the rain, they've got their schedule out finally, but this will be our home for that.
Great.
The storm games on the road, this is our home.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes.
I love it.
And when I mentioned it to Jen when I first had this idea come up, I had this idea come up wearing a pink wig.
Yes, you did.
Ahead of Megan Rapinoe's final regular season home game for the Reign this past year.
Yeah.
I told her it's because I wanted this to feel genuine.
Yep.
I wanted a connection to feel genuine, and it does.
Yeah.
So that's what this is. Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, and I'm so excited to finally announce this partnership.
I can't wait.